Hello, curling fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Broom Brothers, the official podcast of the curling group and the Grand Slam of Curling. And for the next almost month here, maybe, we're not the official podcast of the Olympics. In fact, I think we'd get sued into the Stone Age if we said that. But this will be your home for Olympic curling and Olympic curling previews. We talked about this last episode. I'll tee that up for you in a minute, but first I have to introduce my partner, the man himself. He dug himself out of, some are saying, the worst snowstorm in Prince Edward Island history this morning just to be here for you. It's Robbie Doherty.
That's right. And listen, 30 centimeters, John, you know what we call that on PEI? Monday. Not a big deal.
Well, it is Monday, so that makes sense that you would say we're recording this on Monday,
So really, when I text you saying, "Oh my gosh, we got dumped on, I got to dig myself out," it means I'm just running late. So
okay.
Yeah.
You exaggerated. I was trying to help you out here, and you didn't.
I know.
You didn't take the out. You're like, no, it was fine. Honestly, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Well, the worst part is it's not that like Western Canadian, like fluffy, super cold snow. It's that East Coast, like -3 to like 1 degree Celsius,
Right.
Heavy, wet. So dig it out. Like I feel jacked right now. Like I feel
you,
like you and I should be
are
in this field. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That's why I always wear short sleeve shirts.
Yeah. Mediums. You're getting your sleeves taken in like Brad Jacobs back in the day.
Don't need to, bro. Don't need to.
Biceps are already big enough, man. No problem.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even worry about it. Well,
no, I'm pumped for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've been talking about the Olympics for how long, and luckily they're just around the corner, and no better way to get excited for them than to shit on every team participating.
And that is the plan, baby. That is the plan. No, we talked about it the last few weeks on this show. So Robbie and I are going to be releasing 2 episodes a week from now until the Olympics start. And we're going to be previewing 4 teams per episode. So there's 20 total men's and women's teams playing in the Olympics. We're going to preview them all. We're also going to do 1 episode where we preview the entire mixed doubles event. So that's going to come up a little bit later, kind of right before the mixed doubles starts. And then, we're going to preview every single team in the Olympics, give you an idea of where they're at heading into the Olympics. Because I think, obviously, Robbie, the big names, Homan, Jacobs, people know where they're at, Mowat, Adine. But some of these Olympic teams, we don't see them a ton on the slams. They're kind of on the World Curling Tour, playing a bunch of events in Europe. So we're going to kind of run through every team, what we're seeing, how well we think they might do in the Olympics. That's going to be coming at you for the next 3 weeks here. Basically, you're going to be getting a ton of Broom Brothers content, and we are going to make sure we have some words for every single team playing in Milano Cortina. So that's going to be very exciting. As you said, Robbie, looking forward to breaking it all down with you. Before we get to our first team, however, I do just want to say thank you to Goldline Curling, sponsor of this episode. They've been a great supporter of this show in general. I know they're very excited for the Olympics. They've got a lot of teams there using their equipment. Of course, Goldline Curling, brooms, shoes, gloves, pants, anything you need for on-ice play, they've got it. So head on over to goldlinecurling.com. Robbie, have you had a chance to use your Goldline broom yet? I know they sent you a broom out, didn't they?
So I was literally going to cut in after you were finished. I was just going to say, do you know what I did yesterday, John? This whole 2016 trend going on right now.
Okay.
Probably for the first time since 2016. Do you know what I did?
Practiced?
I practiced. I went and I threw rocks at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And, we've talked about my Tuesday night team a few times here, but like, we feel like this could be the year that we break through. We can get to the final and just play that one game. But I'll tell you what, broke in my gear yesterday for the first time. And I'll tell you what, that 4-foot was just so dug in my back pocket. I could pull it out whenever I wanted. Just consistent. I was nice and warm, nice and comfortable. So big thank you to Goldline for that. And on top of that, this was one of the sweaters that they had sent me. So I'm wondering if they knew we were going to do these series of Olympic previews.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe just to send a message, maybe turn me into a little bit of a homer. And let them know that, I am Canadian and that should be the team I'm cheering for. But anyway, I won't say anything more about that.
We're broadcasters. We're neutral. We're Switzerland, baby. We don't have a dog in this fight.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I do also have a lot of Canadian gear courtesy of Goldline. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Canadian gear later on in the episode, but thrilled that the equipment's working out for you. I still have yet to practice with mine, but I want to get out this week and see how it all goes. But yeah, Goldline has all of your curling equipment needs. Head on over to goldlinecurling.com, the choice of champions. All right, let's start with the Olympic previews. We're going to be doing 2 women's teams, 2 men's teams every episode, and we're going to try and line up countries where we can. So we're going to be talking about both the American teams on this episode, and then a couple of outliers, teams where they only have 1 team playing instead of 2. Yep. And we're going to start with the Denmark women's team, Madeline Dupont. So I'm going to start all of these by giving you a sense of where they're at this season. I'm going to reference a ranking from doubletakeout.com. If you've never been to that website before, it's a really interesting curling ranking. It's done by Ken Pomeroy, who's a college basketball writer and has become a huge curling fan over the last few years. And he does his world rankings based on strength of field. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about how many games you play and who you and like what you win. It's about who you play and if you beat them or not. And so I'm going to give you his ranking. CBC also published an article with some data from Shoreview Sports Analytics, who have been doing curling data for the last few years for Curling Canada, and they're giving percentages for teams' likelihood to win the gold and also to make the playoffs. So I'm going to be giving you all that information, and then we're going to be breaking down the teams for you. So Madeline Dupont is going to be coming into the Olympics. Right now, world number 16, although she did win this past weekend in Perth. So I'm imagining that ranking is actually going to go up a little bit. She's number 15 on double takeout. So her world ranking very close to the double takeout ranking. Her record on the season, 48 wins, 18 losses. So very solid record coming in. Shoreview has her gold medal chances at 2.4%. Her playoff chances at 23.1%. And her best results on the season, as I said, she won in Perth just this past weekend and also won at the Sundbyberg Open, the home of Isabella Vrano and Anna Hasselborg. Robbie, I'll send it to you to break it down first. What can you tell us about this Danish women's team?
Well, I think that this team has some things going for them, and I think this team has some things that are going to be working against them. So a couple of things that jump out at me. Obviously, John, this isn't a team that we see at every slam. I don't think I've seen them on ice so far this year in person, at least, or commentating where, you can listen in, hearing their team dynamics. So I'm not going to sit here.
They played in a couple tier 2s, but they have not, didn't play in a full slam this year.
Yeah, exactly. So I was going to get to that, and that's kind of part of my ramble. So it's not a team that, you and I have sat down and we've heard 7 or 8 to 12 Tirinzoni games, 12 Homan games throughout the year. We know what their dynamics are like. We know their discussions. I don't know a lot about this team, so I had to reflect more on the numbers. To me, the one thing that jumps out to them is technically they're number 16 in the world. That's pretty good for a team from Denmark. That is very, very good. That's not easy. That's a lot of travel for a team like that if they want to kind of compete against the world's best. But Madeline Dupont, I'm going to start with positives, and I think they have things I think they have going for them. Madeline Dupont's a shooter. In my opinion, she's one of those people. She's not intimidated, whether it's Rachel Homan, whether it's Silvana Tirinzoni. She doesn't give a shit. And she's going to go out and she's going to make a lot of shots. She's going to have to do that if they want to put themselves into any kind of contention, because the other number that jumped out at me was the 48 and 18. And I haven't looked at all their events so far this year, but I know we haven't seen them in a tier 1. We've seen them at a couple tier 2s, and those are good fields, very strong events, but they're not the tier 1. And I think for the first time in perhaps I don't want to say all season, because again, I didn't go through their week by week, schedule. There's 20 teams plus mixed doubles that we're looking at through this whole series. But it's a big difference, if you miss by a couple inches against, the number 29th ranked team in a tier 2 versus Rachel Homan. And if Madeline can do what she has done before and just go into that state where she doesn't see misses, where she's really close on everything, they are capable of winning some very big games, as they have before. Rachel Holm in 2018 in Pyeongchang. So I think Madeline is going to have to, especially early on in the week, I don't want to say put the team on her back, but she's really going to have to be solid, play well, make sure they manage the scoreboard to give themselves a chance at any win. Sorry, I don't want to say any wins throughout the week, but a chance to give themselves a chance to win in any round robin game.
Yeah, I mean, they have a win over Rachel Homan this year, earlier in the year at the Shorty Jenkins. They knocked Rachel out of the tournament, actually. I think it was the semifinals, quarters or semis, one of those two. But yeah, they made the finals at the Shorty Jenkins there, ended up losing that final. It was the semis against Homan, lost that final against Ksenia Schwaller. And yeah, I think for me, Robbie, it really does come down to Maddie and her experience, obviously her sister Denise as well. This is Maddie's 4th Olympics. So, you know, someone who won't be cowed by the big stage, right? Like, we're going to talk about some teams, even in this episode, that this is going to be their first Olympic experience. Everything's new for them. And I think that has an effect on some teams. Maddie's not going to be affected by that. And I think it's not just Maddie, but it's the rest of the team. Like, I did a Twitch stream earlier this year with Matilda Halsa, the 3rd for Denmark. And she was telling me about the first time she made the Olympics. She had been curling for 3.5 years. Like, she got into it. Yeah. And I always say, like, that's impossible in curling. You know, people are always like, oh, I see curling on TV. If I start today, by the next Olympics, I'll be in the Olympics. And it's like, well, no, you won't.
You sound like my brother-in-law, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. But Matilda, one of the few who has actually done that. And so I think, you know, when you talk about that, I think Maddie has always had a team that hasn't quite been up to her level, right? As you said, Robbie, we've always known Maddie to be a very good player, a shooter. When she's playing well, she can beat anybody, as she's proven. But I feel like it's been a scenario where she hasn't always had the horses, as we would say. And I think now this team is the most experienced team she's ever had coming into the Olympics. As I said, with Matilda, with Denise, with Mui, their lead. Like, they are, I think they're uniquely positioned. Like, I don't think, you know, they're not a favorite, obviously, but they're one of those teams that they could sneak out some wins against some tough teams. And I think are going to be a team that surprises some people. I mean, they've qualified in every event they've been in this year except for 2. They've, as we said, had some really good 2 wins in some really strong fields in Sundbyberg and Perth. I feel like they're a team that could make some noise. They're a team that could sneak into the playoffs.
And I think today's episode, we're going to be saying that a lot.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
You know, that's going to be a consistent kind of theme here. But no, and I agree. And I think Matilda, you mentioned the 3-year thing, but any few games I've seen from this team, and I've probably watched, you know, a couple ends from 2 or 3 games online sort of thing. But I think from any player on that team who has, I don't want to say improved because she was bad, but just got that experience and is just that more fully rounded player, it's Matilda. And the other thing too that we got to say about this team, which you kind of did in your last answer there, is this team does put in the work. They practice a lot. They play a lot. And the other thing too is I mentioned how I haven't seen them on the ice in the tier 1 at slams, but I have seen them every week at GSOK when they're there. And I'm not saying that to be funny. It's just that I've really gotten to know them, see how they work.
Yeah.
Like,
they have fun for sure.
They have fun, but they also put in the work. Like, when they don't just get up and sing a song, smile and walk off stage. They have costumes, they put work into it, they think it out, but they truly enjoy doing it. You can tell they're legit having fun. And you know, that says a lot about a team. You know, a curling team's unique. It's technically only 4 people. Sure, there's coaches and alternates and physio and all that stuff who we see on the bench, but really there's 4 players on the ice. So it's not like a hockey team where there's, you know, 18 on the bench. And if you're mad at, you know, the second line left winger, you can go chat to the third line defenseman and take a break from each other.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck together, and chemistry is very important. And this team, anytime I've seen them around, they seem to be really good at working as one. They seem to really enjoy each other's company. And if you combine that with the shooting talent of Maddie, as you mentioned, and, you know, her lack of being intimidated, I don't know what word for it is, but that's a good combination. And I think you're right when you say they could surprise a lot of teams, but they're going to have to play very well to do it.
Yeah.
Over their head.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree, but the capability is there. To your point, Robbie, they've played 11 events this season heading into this Olympics. So, yeah, they're ready to go. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to conclude all of our team reviews by giving kind of like a range. So we're going to say what we imagine their best finish could be. So let's say everything goes right. What is their kind of, in our mind, like the best possible finish for them? And conversely, if everything goes wrong, what is their worst possible finish? And Robbie, I know you're a little bit nervous about this, so I'll start so you don't have to feel like the next time you see Maddie, she's going to slit your throat or something. But I will say, I think for this Danish team, I think their best possible result is bronze. I think there is a chance they sneak into the playoffs. You never know what happens in a bronze medal game, right? Like maybe you're getting a team that had gold medal aspirations that loses a semifinal and they can't recover in time to win the bronze medal. You know, something like Kevin Cooey in 2018, we kind of saw that happen. So I think best possible finish is bronze medal. I think even at their worst, they're not a candidate to finish last. I think there are just teams that are weaker than them in the field, and I feel like they're going to play enough good games. So to me, I think their worst finish is 8th out of 10. So I think that's kind of the range we're looking at for Denmark. What do you think?
Well, Maddie, you might want to slit my throat after this because I'm just going to be a little more harder. I, in my opinion, I don't see them in a medal game.
Okay.
And that's not a knock to them personally. To me, the field is just so deep. And there's just so many teams trying to kind of sneak into that back door to get in that top 4, you know, the bronze medal game. So I'm going to cap them at 5th as their best. And again, I really hope that doesn't sound like I'm trying to shit on them or think they're a bad team. It's just the field and the.
You're allowed to be honest, Robbie. It's okay.
Taking that top, it's the PEI in me. We can say anything we want about anyone as long as we start it with bless their heart.
Right.
No, but I just don't see them in a medal game. So I'm going to say 5th is their best finish. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to go last for their worst finish. I don't anticipate that. I honestly don't.
No, we're saying what's the worst case scenario?
Right. They're a team that I just haven't seen. And I know you mentioned, you know, they beat Holman at the Shorty Jenkins, but the Olympics is just so different than the Shorty Jenkins, and those upsets are just so much tougher. Now we've seen it before, so it could happen. And maybe I'm wrong, but I see their worst potential finish at 10th, and I see their best at 5th. And if I was a betting man, I would say they'd be closer to 5 than 10, realistically.
Okay. I love it. All right.
This is fun.
That's the point. We're trying to have fun here.
I already have one shiner, so it might end up with another one by the spring.
This is, exactly. Just be careful not to run into Maddie anytime before now and then. All right, let's move on to our next women's team. We're going to the USA. We're going stateside here. Tabitha Peterson back at the Olympics once again, had to come through the OQE. She comes into the Olympics ranked number 12 in the world. However, double takeout sees her results as maybe being against some lesser ranked teams. So double takeout has her at number 20, Ken Palm in his rankings. Their record coming into the Olympics, 39-21. And Shoreview has a fairly pessimistic view of their chances. They put their gold medal chances at 0.3%. And they put their chances of making the playoffs at 10.5%. So only 1 out of 10 times, if you ran the Olympics, does Shoreview see them making the playoffs. But again, they have some good results this year. They won the Euro Super Series back in August to kick off their season in Stirling. Obviously, as we know, they won the OQE, and they were in the second OQE game. So they only had one chance to make it to the Olympics. They didn't get that sort of modified page playoff try. They had to beat Norway in their one chance, and they did. And then we just saw they made the quarterfinal at the Players' Championship, their only slam of the year. Robbie, tell me about Tab Peterson. What have you seen? Where do you have them in your mind heading into the Olympics?
I think this team is very dangerous. And
okay,
for one reason, Tabitha Peterson. When she took over the skipping duties from Nina Roth, she was on an absolute tear. Like, in my opinion, I know we said this about Maddie as well, but Tabitha, she is capable of getting into a mode where she's so dialed in and she's not scared to take on any shot, and she will make a lot of those shots that she takes on. The other thing is Corey TC at third. If Corey heats up as well and that back end is both dialed in and playing as well as they can, I think they're going to be extremely tough to beat. It's been an odd couple of years for this team. I think both Peterson sisters having kids, I think both under 2. So it's been a big quad for this team, realistically. They've had a lineup change also at lead. We don't have Becca Hamilton in there anymore. So they're still, I don't want to say in their infancy, but maybe a little bit less experienced than they would like to be as a foursome coming into this event with all those changes. But man, I've seen it before. Tabitha is dangerous. When she heats up, she can play with anybody. And she looked really, really good at the Players in Steinbach. You said she was in the quarterfinals, but early on in the week, she was undefeated and looking like she was going to go right through to the semis. Dropped a couple games late in the round robin, one being to Rachel Holman. And they just never kind of regrouped, it seemed. But if they can tap into that way that they can play, I think this team is capable of defeating a lot of the top teams, and unsurprisingly.
Yeah, one of those teams, of course, they've done it all before. This is their third Olympics now, or Tab's third. It's the first for Taylor Anderson Heidi. But yeah, I think that I'm with you, Robbie. I think they can beat the top teams. I think I kind of see them a little bit more where Ken Palm has them ranked at 20th in the world. Like, that feels a little more natural to me than 12. Yeah. I think when I look at the world rankings and I kind of see where they're at, I kind of think, yeah, 12 is a little, the teams below them in the world rankings, I think, are maybe a little bit better than them. But I mean, they've been very solid. They've qualified in every event this season. And you brought it up. Last year was probably, as a skip, Tabitha Peterson's worst year ever. And obviously, yes, that was impacted. She had a baby. Tara had a baby. They were kind of in and out. Their lineup kind of never looked the same from event to event. They dropped down into the high 20s in the world rankings. So they kind of needed a good year this year to sort of right the ship, as it were. And I feel like they've had that year where you can kind of say the things that you're saying. If they had kind of left off where they were last year and sort of got a little lucky at the OQE, get into the Olympics, you might be like, I don't know. I'm not really sure where they're at heading in. I don't know how I love their chances, but I feel like, yeah, with where they are right now, and we saw them play well at the Players, they had that epic comeback against Ksenia Schwaller. They were down 5 and won the game in a shootout. Down 5 with 2 ends to go, mind you. Got 3 and 7, stole 2 and 8, and then won in the shootout. And it's that kind of experience and resiliency that I really admire in them. And I think it's going to give them... Sorry. I think it's going to...
Bless you. Bless your heart, bud.
Thank you. I think it's going to give them an opportunity to do some good things at this Olympics. Now, I want to ask the question of you, Robbie, because we've seen this before, but I think there are some rumblings that maybe this is the last Olympics for Tab and for Tara, potentially, and maybe for Corey too. She's got a great mixed doubles pairing. I think with Corey Dropkin already kind of announcing, at least for this year, he's done with 4-player curling, kind of begs the question, are Corey and Corey just going to be mixed doubles plus Rock League players next year? And we don't know any of this. This is all unfounded speculation. But if you are Tara, Tab, Corey, and maybe in your heart that this is potentially your last Olympics, does that add any pressure? Does that change anything going into it for you?
That's a good question. Can't say I've ever been anywhere close to the Olympics. So
no, but you've watched enough curling.
Other than being a spotter.
Oh, yes.
No, but I think it obviously does, but at the same time, anytime any of these athletes are at the Olympics, they're dialed in. And I don't know. I just don't think a lot of that extra stuff would enter their mind. They're focused on playing those round robin games and getting themselves into medal contention and, focusing on how good they are at their sport. And they're going to have to be that week. But yeah, I think it would add a little bit of extra, pressure. But to kind of add to that, you had mentioned, Tara and Tab becoming, having babies in the past couple of years. And, as a young father, the other thing that happens with that is you don't just have a baby, you become a parent.
Yeah.
And that can really, people can say
you
what
can't
they
just
want.
have the baby and leave it in the corner of the room.
No. And it's so even coming here today, I'm at my dad's because my 3-year-old's daycare is closed, as I said, but I said, I got to go to work for a couple hours. And he just freaked out and started crying. And I said, "What's wrong, buddy?" "You just got off the airplane." He thought I was going away.
Oh,
and it just melted me. And I was like, "No, I'm going up to your grandfather's house to record. I'll be back for lunch," sort of thing. Anyway, my point is that it can just add extra, I don't want to say distractions. That's the wrong word, but it adds more to your brain as you try to prepare for these big events. And, even though it's the Olympics, that's just something else that Tara and Tab are going to have going into this Olympics for Tab, compared to other years past. But I think too, once they get there and they get settled in, I think that nature will take its course and they'll be ready to go. And the other thing, John, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here.
That's a good setup. That's a good setup.
But the Olympics is just different than the Worlds or any kind of international curling event you play, because you're a curling team, but you're also part of that big team going, your Team USA. And they're going to be spending a lot of time at Athletes Village around athletes from other sports. And this is what I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Team USA is known to be pretty confident. In whatever they do.
Yes.
And
you don't
that's
say.
Yeah. And I've got a lot of great American friends. I'm not trying to chirp. I'm trying to use this as a positive, but if they're spending that, I don't know what the Olympian schedules look like, but if they're there for 4 or 5 days before, in that group, hanging out with Team USA and just having those conversations, that can provide a lot of confidence, a lot of motivation. And I don't think that's a bad thing for this team. It hasn't been the most consistent quad for them. And it looks like they're really starting to turn up the heat now based on their players' performance. And I think that can help them too. I just think they're going to be ready to go. I think that it's easy for teams to underestimate this team, and they are capable of turning a lot of heads.
Okay. I love it. Well said. Let's get into our predictions for their best and worst finish. I'm going to give them the treatment that you gave Denmark. I just don't see them as a playoff team. I think their best finish is 5th as well. I think I know last year was so complicated for them, and I don't mean to diminish what these athletes do. Obviously, being pregnant, having kids, trying to balance that with your regular life and your athletic life. I know that is so hard. But the Worlds last year, they were 3-9. They were basically last. I mean, Lithuania was last because they had 0 wins, but Lithuania is not a world power in curling. So for me, they basically finished last at the Worlds last year. I know they've had a better year this year. I do think there is talent there, but yeah, I see them as peaking just outside the playoffs if they play their best. I just think there's too many strong teams in this field for them. And it's a lot of the teams they would have lost to at the Worlds last year as well. And then I think their worst finish, I can't see them finishing last. I just think there's worse teams that are out there. But their worst finish is probably 9th for me. I think they're going to win a couple games no matter what. So I don't see them finishing dead last, but I have them best as 5th, worst as 9th. Robbie, you?
I'm going to give them the Denmark treatment. You gave. No, I could see this team in the medal game, not the gold, but I'm going to put them best finish bronze. Do I think they're a favorite for bronze? Absolutely not. But I think they could really, really get on a heater, especially that midweek, mid-round robin, and have a lot of confidence going into those playoffs. And Tab never struck me as anyone who's intimidated by any situation. She loves rocks and plays. She seems to love pressure. You combine that with the confidence around that Team USA group, and you get that country on your back. And the US in general, they're mega sports fans. Like, there's no secret. You go to a Tiddlywinks game in the US, and it's going to be loud and it's fun. So I think that team is capable of picking up momentum based on the surroundings, really embracing the atmosphere and playing the best they ever had. And I think that gets them a bronze medal. I think worst place for them will be 8th. I don't see them in the bottom 2. I could see them losing a couple close games, like say last rock games, a couple in a row. That starts to mess with your head a little bit. And you don't turn the rest of the week into as many wins as you would have liked, putting them into 8th. But I agree, I just don't see them in last or second last for that matter, in my opinion. But it's going to be a fun team to watch. They're one of the kind of teams I have circled.
For sure. Yeah, I think they're great. I think they're just one that they could do anything in this event. I mean, I know that I've predicted them a little lower, but also wouldn't be insane if they were in the playoffs, obviously. So yeah, one to keep an eye on for sure. All right, we're going to switch over to the men's side. Before we do, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Goldline Curling, and we are not talking about pardon me, the Canadian Olympic teams on this episode. But if you are a Canadian listener of this podcast and you want to get your official Canadian Olympic gear, as Robbie shows off one of his Curling Canada shirts there, Goldline Curling has all of your official Olympic apparel. You can head on over to goldlinecurling.com. They've got the official Team Canada jackets. If you're not the type that wants to wear a curling jacket, there's hoodies, crew necks, T-shirts, you name it, with that beautiful Indigenous logo designed by Shelby Gagnon. It's really cool what they have. They've sent Robbie, you and I, a bunch of stuff. The quality is amazing. The hoodies, the logo is actually like stitched on. It's not a press-on logo or an iron-on. It's an actual stitched, like a Letterman jacket. Like, you can feel the kind of fur in the logo or whatever. It is really great stuff, really high quality. So if you want to support Canada this Olympics, head on over to goldlinecurling.com. And if you don't, that's okay. They have lots of other cool apparel too. 2
things just about that, the Maple Leaf, the sweater you were just talking about. Number one, this is not bullshit. I get so many questions when I wear that in public. Where'd you get that? What is it? Where does it come from?
Yep, same.
I feel like you need to connect me with Shelby, because I need more answers. Because literally every time I wear it, I'm like, yeah.
I believe the plan is to have Shelby on an episode and talk to her about the design.
Perfect. Anyway, so great job on that. And the other thing is, if you have a 6-month-old baby at home, they like to reach for that maple leaf. So just be careful. And then those hands can come up and scratch you and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, loved by everyone.
Good warning for the parents out there. So yeah, check it out. Goldlinecurling.com. All right, let's get to the men's. We are going to start with a team that kind of snuck in to the Olympics. They had a good result at the World Men's last year and kind of sent the USA and Japan and China to the OQE. But it's Czechia. They got a direct qualification into the Olympics. Lukáš Klíma, the skip for the Czechia team. They're currently ranked number 28 in the world. Double takeout, a little less flattering, has them at number 40. One of the few teams coming into the Olympics with a losing record on the season. They have 32 wins and 33 losses. Shoreview Analytics has their gold medal chances at 0.2%. Their playoff chances at 5.2%. So doesn't have a sterling view of the Czechia team playing in the Olympics for the first time. They've had a couple good results this year. They made the semifinals in Stirling back in August, and they also made the quarterfinal. They qualified in both of the Tier 2 events that they played in this year. Robbie, break it down for me. The Czech team appearing in the Olympics for the first time.
I just want to say that they're extremely well coached by a fine gentleman who knows this game and loves this game more than anyone. So there's no better bench boss they could possibly have. I'm saying that to deflect the texts I get when this episode releases from their coach telling me off.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, Craig Saville, former world champion, is the coach for this Team Czechia.
And 5-year resident of Prince Edward Island.
That's right. Yeah, you and him must be tight.
We did. We played a tankard together. Just missed the podium. I think we came 5th. No, in all seriousness, though, I did want to give a shout out to Savvy because I'm going to just reference him a lot because he was kind of my inside scoop on this team throughout their whole process. I think Craig moved away or back to Ontario 2 years ago, I want to say, a year and a half ago. Yep. So I don't talk to him as much, but I used to talk to him some when he was around. And it was kind of in the earlier stages of him getting really involved with this team. But he talked to me a lot about how much he enjoyed this group, how driven they are, how high their what's the word I'm looking for?
Their effort.
Their work ethic. That's what I was looking for.
There you go.
They put a lot of time into it. They truly love the game. And they try anything they can to get better. Unfortunately, I think what you had said it, their first time playing in the Olympics. And I think that is going to be a huge obstacle to overcome for this team. Like DuPont, I don't know a lot about them. We haven't seen them in the tier 1. They've been at a couple tier 2s, but again, those are played at a curling club, not in the arena. So it's not like, between games, we can really just scoot over a couple steps, watch the draw, come back and call the night game if we had to. In some cases it's a drive. So haven't seen them as much as I would have liked to. There was a couple numbers that kind of jumped out at me. You mentioned the percentages, but the year to date record, 32-33. And that's not something that I would want going into the Olympics, is a record below 500, especially going in against a very, very tough field. Not that they haven't played these top teams, not that they haven't seen them before. But it's just on that big stage. Like, I know a lot of curlers dream of playing the Brier if you're in Canada, or the World Championships or the Grand Slams or whatever. But the Olympics is just a totally different beast. The lights are just that much brighter. There's so much attention, just creating a lot more distractions. And I think that that's something that this team is really going to have to be aware of going into it early in the week. I think if they can manage that, and they can get out there and just get themselves into that mindset where it's just curling and you're just playing a curling game, just like the Worlds last year, they are capable of upsetting anybody. Unfortunately, I just don't see the chances of that happening nearly as high as they would be in a World Championships as they are now at the Olympics.
Yeah, I think everything you said there, I agree with. I think it is tough to come into the Olympics with a losing record. And we're going to see, like most teams, even teams that I consider having had a bad season, have winning records. Like when you're a top team that's in the Olympics, even if you're not having great results, you're beating most of the teams below you in the world rankings, and you're playing a lot of teams below you in the world rankings. So therefore, you end up winning quite a few games. And yeah, I just think, I think what I would say with this team is I would wonder if they used up the magic at the Worlds last year, right? I think at the Worlds, they absolutely overachieved. They went 6-6. They beat Bruce Mowat. And not only did they beat Bruce Mowat, they smoked Bruce Mowat at the Worlds last year, ran him off the sheet in 8 ends, I believe. The 8-2, I think, was the final score, 8-3. They beat John Schuster. They beat Mark Muskatovitz, who at the time of the Worlds last year was a top 10 ranked team in the world. They beat Shu. So these are like 3 teams that they're going to see in the Olympics. But you do wonder if, oh boy, we used up all our upsets at the Worlds last year. Like, I just don't think they're going to beat Bruce Mowat again at the Olympics in Cortina. Don't see that happening for the Czechia team. So yeah, just the results have not been consistent. They've been in 12 events this year. They've only qualified in 5 of them. And yeah, they're a team that should just be happy to be there. And I know they will be. They're great guys. I know Martin, their second, is a big Broom Brothers fan. Actually, he came up to me in Saskatoon and said he listened to every episode. So yeah, you can blame me for all of this. I don't care, Martin. But no, I think they're a team that they're building, right? That program is building. They're sort of the first team through the door in that country. and they're trying to build that program. Like you said, Sav is doing a great job. I don't think it's offensive to say, they're a team that most people are going to predict to finish near the bottom of the standings. And that's okay for them. I think with where they're at in their program, I think with how hard they're working, it's got to start somewhere. I think it's great for them to be in the Olympics. But yeah, I'm not expecting amazing things out of the Czechia team at this Olympics.
No, and I think we're on the same page. And, you're talking to someone who was PEI at the Briar 4 times. I know what it's like to just be happy to be there.
Yeah. And you were, and everyone said you had a great time and you enjoyed the experience.
Yeah.
What
got
more
the
can you ask
jerseys.
for?
Yeah.
And honestly, Czechia has some great jerseys and jackets. They might have the best they're up there with the best jerseys and jackets at the Olympics. Also.
Yeah, on my twice a week social media check, I noticed a picture last night, actually. Yeah. So anyway, I agree.
Yeah, but Martin, if you're listening, and I know you are, I want one. When the Olympics
change our minds.
I'm not changing my mind. I'm not bribing you. I just want one. So just give me one, okay? Thank you.
But no, and just a final note though. The one thing I think that will help them is actually Saville on the bench. I guess he hasn't played in the Olympics, but he's played everything else in the sport and has a lot of success on that big stage. And so he'll help them, I think, with that pressure early on in the week. And Saville's has a very, very high curling IQ. So I don't think there's any doubt that they'll be ready to go as they can be heading into it, but I think they're really going to have to play over their heads and overachieve if they want to make any kind of a run. But I do agree that it's probably not in my likelihood.
Yeah, so opinion. I think for me, even if they were to go on quote unquote a run, I think that run is a couple of wins at best.
Yep.
So for me, I think best finish for them is 7th. I think that's like you go 3-6. And you finish 7th, I think that would be honestly a great result for them, beating 3 teams in this field. And then, I think they're the lowest ranked team coming into the Olympics, and their worst finish is 10th. I think there's obviously a world where they could lose every game or almost every game and finish last, and that's just the reality of where they are at right now on the world stage.
Promised myself I wouldn't do this, John. But I'm going to agree with you. No, that's literally exactly what I was going to say. I'll tell you what, I'll bump it up to 6th.
Okay. Be a little different. Sure.
But no, and in all seriousness, and this isn't a knock to them. They're Czechia and they're in the friggin' Olympics. So like, that's a feather in your cap for life. It's mind-blowingly impressive, but I do see them as a team who is capable of being in the 10th spot at the end of the week. But the best I will give them, you know what? I'll throw a little cherry on top here, John. I could see their best finish being 6th, but with a couple of big upsets.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they've proven they can do it. They're obviously not scared of the top teams. They've played them a lot, have wins, as we said, a win against the world number 1. If you have that in your back pocket, you probably feel like you can beat anybody. All right, the final team for this episode, we are heading back to America, where we're going to try throughout these previews. If there's both a men's and women's team for a country, we'll cover them both in the same episode. And so it's the Ghost Man, Danny Casper, obviously a huge story out of the U.S. this year, ended John Schuster's Olympic streak, had a great run at the OQE. They are currently world number 6. Double Takeout likes them a little bit less than that, has them at number 13 in the world. Their record this season is an impressive 43-25. Shoreview, though, doesn't love their chances for gold, has them at a 1.2% chance of winning gold, but does have them at 23.9% chance of making the playoffs. They have some big wins this year. As we said, they won the U.S. Olympic trials. They were not the favorite. I mean, maybe a co-favorite, but you always like John Schuster's chances at a U.S. national competition. They beat him. They won the OQE outright. They made the first final and won it. They also won a slam level field in Sault Ste. Marie at Ryan Harnden's event there, and that was without Danny. Danny was the 5th for John Schuster at the PanCons at that time. So Rich Ruoinen filled in at skip, and they still won that event with Rich skipping. They also won the Tier 2 in London. Kevin Cooey, they played in the final. They beat him there. So 4 big wins on the season. They're playing pretty well coming in, although the last couple slams maybe haven't gone their way. Robbie, where do you see Danny Casper at heading into Milano Cortina?
I love this team. I think this team is fantastic. We had some heart-to-heart moments at the Roadhouse 52 Motel in Steinbach. But I think
no better place to have heart-to-heart moments. I feel like.
Jacuzzi. I mean, come on. No. But I think it's going to be a tough week for this team. I really think that this team is capable of beating anyone on any day. But when you're 20, when you're in your mid-20s, going to the Olympics for the first time, you're Team USA, like that's a lot of pressure on its own. It's like being on the Canadian hockey team or Canadian curling team, to be honest. But there's just a lot of pressure. And this is not a knock to them. It's just an age, life experience thing. I don't think they've ever faced anything even close to that in their life. And I hope they're able to overcome the distractions early. This team is capable of beating anybody. We've seen it. Their trials performance was exceptional. And that's another thing. Maybe they're proving me wrong right there. John Schuster is certainly not a top 5 curling team in the world, but they're the only Olympic gold medalist in the history of, the US. And that's who they had to play in the trials final, on NBC live. Like that's a lot of pressure on its own. And they overcame that and played well. And it's not like they went out and, Schusty shit the bed and they just had to touch the 8-foot for the second point. They had to really grind and play well and under pressure. Luc Violette, I think he's a great shooter. Violette. If Casper is hot as well, they're going to upset some teams. I could see them winning the hearts of the curling audience around the world, but I just don't think that this is going to be their year for a medal.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. And I think the number I would point at, or I would point to, and this is kind of what I like about Ken Pomeroy's rankings is, he divides it up. So it's like your wins and losses against top 10 teams, top 20, like 11 to 25, and then 26 plus. And Danny Casper's record this year against teams ranked number 1 to 10 is 6-14. And there's also a couple caveats in there in that, like, one of those 6 wins was against Bruce Mowatt's team without Bruce Mowat. So, again, like Grant was skipping, and of course that's still a good team, but that's not Team Mowat, right? So you look at that and you go, okay, maybe is it 5-14? A bunch of those 6 wins are against John Schuster. So John Schuster is a top 10 ranked team, and they actually have a losing record against John Schuster this year overall, which seems surprising given the trials, but they were actually 2-3 against Schuster at the trials. Schuster beat Danny Casper both times in the round robin and then beat him once in the best of 3 finals. So that's the number for me that if I'm trying to break this all down and what I'm looking at, like we're talking about a team that, and they do great against teams below them, 12-6 against 11 to 25, 25-5 against teams ranked 26 plus. Like they're very, very good. But when you look at the world rankings, like a lot of the teams that are in the Olympics are in that top 10, right? And so those are teams they've had a problem beating. And yeah, I agree with you. I think similar to Czechia, and this is maybe even more so because they're younger than Czechia and they've got the backing of the US program, which has had a lot of success on the world stage. This is a building Olympics, I think. And I think this is you're 24 years old. You've got a good mix. Most of the team is in that 24 to 27 age range. And so, yeah, to me, I think that I agree with you. This is not going to be the Olympics where they break out, but it is going to be the Olympics where they probably win a few games. Maybe they even beat one of those top teams and they sort of announce like, hey, we're going to be a problem moving forward, and that's what I think is sort of should be the goal for them going in. I know we've talked to Danny on this podcast and he doesn't love an underdog label. He's like, I'm going to a tournament because I'm trying to win it. But yeah, I think for Team Casper, that should be the goal this Olympics. Get to an Olympics, have that experience with the stars and stripes on your back, and build for 2030.
Oh, absolutely. And that was going to be one of my talking points, is that, in 4 years, if we're doing this exact same episode, it's going to be a very different discussion, in my opinion, and quite possibly the Olympics after that, 4 years later. I think you nailed it when you said that. This is, going for the first time, kind of getting your feet wet, experiencing that big stage, that scene, that feeling that not many people get to in the world of sports, not just curling. And I just feel like that mountain this time is going to be very hard to climb. But even the fact that they start climbing now, and they have 4 years to prepare for the next one, 8 for the one after that, they can make all the shots. We've seen that a million times, but now they have to learn to do it, more consistently, and not let the distractions get in their way of performing on the ice. Now, with that said, Danny Casper, he's an odd duck, man. He's a unique guy. Like, he's one of those guys that
he's a character for sure.
And like, self-admittedly, if I'm walking down a hallway and I see a few curlers coming, like, sometimes, I will kind of keep to the other side and give the hi, how you doing? Kind of keep going. Danny's one of those guys I stop every time. Danny, talk to me, because I just really, he's just unique. And sometimes that unique kind of mindset can help you in these situations where they're just less intimidated than the average human, if that makes sense. So who knows, John? I think out of all the teams we've covered today, the Casper team is by far the hardest to predict, because at the same time, I'm going to shock you on my best and worst, because I've seen this team at their best. I think it's going to be very, very, very tough for them to get to their best on the Olympic stage. But if they do, they could be dangerous. I just don't see it being in 2026.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think they've got a lot going for them. They have things all pulling in the right direction. But yeah, I think even just their results at the last 2 slams. I mean, I know that they're going to Saskatoon right from the OQE. It's like the biggest moment of your curling career. That's an almost impossible challenge. But I think if you are an American curling fan, you would have sort of hoped that the Christmas break would have given them a chance to reset and really show up at the Players. And they didn't really have a great week at the Players either. They only defeated Nicholas Sedin there. And the rest, everything else was a loss, and quite a few big losses. Lost 8-3 to Shu in China, lost 8-3 to Schwaller, lost 7-3 to John Schuster. They had a good game against Bruce Mowat, losing that one 7-6. But yeah, they go to the Players, they go 1-4. They go to the Canadian Open, they go 1-3. Their only win was against Kleider, who's has not had a good season. So yeah, overall, I agree with what you said there. I think this is a building Olympics for them. Love that team. Really excited to see where they go in the future. But yeah, I would have their best finish. I do think, like, Shoreview has them as a 25% chance to make the playoffs. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility that they get hot, they surprise a few teams. Do think, though, if they find their way into the bronze medal game, they lose it, similar to John Schuster in Pyeongchang. So I would have their best finish at 4th, and I do think there is a world where just the bright lights are too much. The OQE and the trials were kind of like their peak, and they can't re-peak for the Olympics. And I would put their worst finish at 9th.
The reason I snapped when you said that, because that was exactly what I was going to say. My best for them is bronze medal game, but losing. I just don't see them winning the medal. But I could see them kind of getting into that giant killer, sweetheart, Cinderella story.
Totally.
They're young. They're cheek pinchers. Let's be honest, the average curling fan is maybe a little older, and they love that story. I love a Cinderella story, and nothing better than 4 kind of unique guys, just funny guys, personable guys in their 20s out there at the Olympics. They take down one of the top teams earlier on in the week. That makes a lot of headlines. People start paying attention to them. Momentum grows. You get another couple of wins, and who knows? But realistically, I see them 4th, their best finish.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm going to go one down. I'm going to say 10th.
They could finish last.
I could see them finishing last. I don't think so, but but I definitely
agree. I think it's in the realm of possibility for sure. So there you have it. That's our first 4 previews done and dusted. We will be back previewing every other team in the Olympics as we get ready for Milano Cortina 2026. Next time you hear from us, we're going to be going to Asia and to Europe. We're going to be talking about the Chinese teams and the Italian teams next time we are here. So thanks to you for listening. Thanks to Goldline for supporting this episode. If you want to see a video of this episode, you can head on over to our YouTube, follow, subscribe there. Follow and subscribe this podcast on whatever app you're listening to as well. And if you want to rate and review the show, that would be awesome too. 5 stars, please. Also, we're on every social media. So you can just search the Broom Brothers. You'll find us. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you back here very soon. Goodbye.